Hi, my name is Sarah Bentley Pearson, and I am excited to share my podcast, which features wonderful talent that I've been so lucky to discover in the Southeast. This was born out of a list that I created in 2015 called Sarah's List. And through my work in real estate, which I've been doing since 2005, and styling work, and just my personal life and my personal interests, I've been able to meet so many wonderful people, and I'm excited to share them with you. So, Paul, I'm actually really, really excited to have you here because I love your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
I really, really do. You've had great guests. I've listened to probably 10 of your episodes.
Only 190 more to go.
I know you. How long have you been doing this?
5 years.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm 2 years in, and I have like 40 something episodes, and
They add up.
and I really enjoy doing this. This is just my focus is talent in the Southeast. So, like I explained to you, I grew up in Europe and in Washington, D.C. I moved to Atlanta. I was deeply depressed, like it's strip malls and fake boobs everywhere, and nobody seems
You say that like it's a bad thing.
Well, yeah, it's probably a plus for a man. But when I moved here, I was just like, wow, it's not very diverse. But as time went on, I was so impressed by the people I've met here.
Mm-hmm.
You're one of them now, and I just felt like being in the industry that I'm in, I want to highlight the talent in the Southeast. So that's why I invited you.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. And Michaeline Rowland is who first mentioned you. But then, like other Holy Innocents moms, I guess, where are your kids in school?
They're at Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon. So I did listen to Is Private School Worth It?
Yeah.
And I thought, I thought to myself, well, yes. In Atlanta, it is.
Well, clearly we think it is because we've
yes.
made that decision.
Yes.
But I think it's a conversation worthy of discussion. And what I found interesting about that episode was I think 3 of the 4 parents had kids that some of their kids they've sent to public school, some of their kids they've sent to private school.
In the same families.
In the same families.
Yeah.
And even the same child has gone to both private and public school. And parents are really just trying to find the right place for each individual kid because what's right for one kid might not be right for the other.
My experience from my son going to went to private preschool, public elementary school, and then now at Holy Innocents from 7th grade, is that it's not really that the teachers are so much better in public or private, is that the class size is so much smaller.
Yes.
And they have the time to deal with the other things that I find, frankly, more important than school, which is integrity, your word, the follow-up, all those things that they don't have time in private school. So for me, I'm like, that's the best money I spend.
Right.
And we are now, possibly looking at a boarding school now too, because I am not crazy about this stage. I know you have younger kids than I do. I have a 16-year-old.
Right. Mine are just a couple years younger, yeah.
It gets like you're just the warden, like there's the homework in, unless you have, like if I had a child that was very much a self-starter, I probably would put them in public school.
Yeah.
Because you'll get into a better college.
Yep.
It's all a game.
Well, yeah, it is kind of a game.
It's a game. Well, I want to talk a little bit about how you came to this place. I want to ask you, are you somebody who's into personal growth?
I never would have defined myself that way. I was very career oriented and very performance oriented. And I came to this topic after back up a second. I spent, the first 2 decades after college chasing a good career and money and affluence. And I'm one of 6 kids and we had everything we needed, but it wasn't my family wasn't a super rich family. And I was like, I want to live in the right zip code and drive a cool car and all that kind of stuff. And so I chased that, and I had a lot of fun doing it along the way. I went to business school, and I worked for great companies like Yahoo and Facebook, and I worked with amazing people. I played golf yesterday with a guy I worked with at Yahoo 25 years ago. I mean, these relationships were real, and I had a good time. But after I made a bunch of money in Facebook stock as an early employee, I just quit at 42 years old. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but meaning will find me. My purpose will find me. And that's not how it works.
Right.
You've got to do something. You've got to, it was fun for 3 or 6 months to it's amazing how quickly months will go by when you're not working.
Mm-hmm.
After working 70, 80-hour weeks for a decade or two, you think, you just don't think of what it's going to be like when you don't work. But you can find all kinds of really fun stuff to do to fill your day. Take the kids to school, you work out, you take a trip, you play a lot of golf, you
have a little lunch.
Have a little lunch, catch up with friends. There's a lot of really good stuff to do. And it just, at a certain point, you go, wait a minute, I've had good days, but I'm not on a path working toward anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I was despondent or anything, but I was really confused by, well, what do I do now? And it's not a question that people really think about, because, unless you win the lottery or, are very fortunate to benefit from an IPO or sell your company at a pretty young age, we need to work. And we don't think what we would do absent that obligation. And so when I had the opportunity to do whatever I wanted to do with my life, it freaked me out.
So did you look at the number in your bank account and go, okay, I'm tired, I want to quit this, before you had any kind of plan?
I think it was, I've always had, since business school, I went to business school because I wanted to make more money. Mm-hmm. And the most impactful thing that happened at business school, at least from a career perspective, was I told jokes at a talent show in front of a live audience for the first time in my life. And I was like, oh, the narcotic wave of laughter coming back at you was profound. And so I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. This is what makes, among this very smart group of people, being funny is what makes me different. This is what I'm supposed to do. And so I thought, well, I should be a comedian. But I had taken out $80,000 of debt in 1997. And so that would be $150,000 today. And there's this old-fashioned notion, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but if you borrow money, you're supposed to pay it back. It's no longer in vogue. But
gotcha.
Yeah, so I was like, well, I want to be a comedian, but obviously I need to take responsibility for these debts that I have. So I went into digital media in 1997 and went to work for a company that eventually, it was a music website that eventually became Yahoo Music. They bought us for no money after the dot-com bust. But that's how I got into it. And so before I even went to work at Facebook, I was doing stand-up comedy in Los Angeles full time. But I got engaged and was like, I should probably, I wanted to have a family, and I figured I should probably have some more predictable and reliable source of income than stand-up comedy. And a friend of mine that I'd worked with at Yahoo called about that time and said, would you be interested in joining this small startup called Facebook? And I literally said to my wife, yeah, I think this company could be as big as MySpace. That was the extent of my vision. That was the extent of my vision. I thought maybe I'll make $1 million. Mm-hmm. And I made way more than that.
Yeah.
And I worked there for 4.5 years, and working at a startup is very hard. And I think I was frustrated personally because I knew I wanted to do stand-up. I knew that was eating inside of me, that I, for whatever reason, need to express myself and not have, I need to be able to, the way I articulated it as I was leaving was I wanted a job where I could be me. And I felt like in that circumstance in middle management at Facebook, I really couldn't be me. And for whatever reason. And that's not Facebook's fault, and I don't fault anybody that I work with.
But it's a corporate environment.
If you work for a corporation, you have to stay on message. You have to keep your mouth shut. You can't express your opinion. It's worse now today, 13 years later, than it was then. And so, it doesn't matter. I mean, after a certain point, if you get to the point where you have enough money to be able to do whatever you want to do, keeping your mouth shut and acting and behaving, or just spending your day doing something that doesn't feel authentic, is going to push you to go find something else. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy to find that thing that you're going to go do.